Hello, and welcome to James and the Frames. I'm your host, James, and here I talk about some of the greatest frames ever filmed while discussing film related topics with you guys. This is our 18th episode, and in this episode, we will be talking about the 2014 film Nightcrawler, directed and written by Dan Gilroy, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo, Riz Ahmed, Bill Paxton, among others, and the synopsis is as follows. Lou Bloom, a petty thief, realizes that he can make money by capturing photographs or videos of criminal activities and starts resorting to extreme tactics to get them. Nightcrawler is a gem. It's an excellent thriller as well as a fantastic noir/crime film. And let's just get the elephant out of the room. Career best performance by Jake Gyllenhaal. He just transforms into this character and knocks it out of the park. Apparently, the director wanted him to look hungry, like a coyote roaming around for food. And man, does he sell that aspect of his character. It's the best performance I've seen from Gyllenhaal. He steals every scene that he's in. I mean, of course, the rest of the cast does great, but it's clear that Gyllenhaal's performance is the center of it all. Nightcrawler is also a very interesting character study about a somewhat psychopathic, anti-hero. Throughout this film, our main character goes to more extreme lengths to get the footage he needs, because nightcrawling, it's an unheard of profession in most areas, but it's basically going to the scene of a crime, getting as much video or photo coverage as possible, and then running to the nearest news station that offers the most money, of course. And that's basically a nightcrawler's job. And Jake Gyllenhaal's character just completely envelops himself into this line of work and goes to such extreme lengths to get what he needs. And it's pretty insane to watch. This is a great screenplay. It has brilliantly written dialogue and monologues. There's one monologue in particular between Lou Bloom, played by Jake Gyllenhaal's character, and Nina, played by Rene Russo. Fun fact, Rene Russo is the director's wife, and she's a frequent collaborator on his films, which I thought was pretty cool. But there's this scene where Jake Gyllenhaal's character negotiates with this news lady about the price of a certain clip. And the way it's blocked, the cinematography, I'll talk about the cinematography in a second because it's gorgeous. And of course, the absolutely breathtaking performance by Gyllenhaal. This focus on characters, it's what makes Nightcrawler so good. And the script and the acting come together really well. There's also heart-pounding sequences throughout this film and a fantastic finale, which I'm not going to tell you guys, because this review is going to be spoiler-free, and there's going to be no spoiler discussion after, because I don't really want to ruin this one for you guys. There's also not a lot to talk about in the spoiler discussion. There's some notable scenes, but I don't feel like I should dedicate a whole segment to them because they're all within the film. This film isn't that long, also. It's a little under 2 hours, but the pacing makes it fly by so quickly. This soundtrack is very ambient. It fits perfectly with the film's tone. I really can't see another choice of music for this film, except maybe the Drive soundtrack. Not the specific songs of the Drive soundtrack, but the ethereal electronic music that plays could possibly be used in this film in a really good way. This film is shot really well. There's a lot of really beautifully lit scenes, and the noir aesthetic is ever so present in this film, and it's just gorgeous. I think Jake Gyllenhaal's character even breaks the fourth wall at one point in the film and says that framing is everything and the right frame can catch a viewer's attention. And I gotta say, the framing and the cinematography of this film did catch my eye, and it just drew me into this world. And while I'm talking about Nightcrawler, I gotta say there are a lot of parallels between Nightcrawler and Drive that I'd really like to discuss in a YouTube video because, well, just to name a few. The main protagonist is kind of a lone wolf. Nobody really knows that much about him. The film takes place in Los Angeles. Our main character can sometimes resort to violent methods of solving problems. And there's a lot of intense driving sequences in this film. However, the main character in this film is quite the opposite of Ryan Gosling's character in Drive. So I really want to touch on that a little bit in the video I'm making. I'm going to work on it this week, and I'm probably going to upload it either Friday or Saturday. One of those 2 days. But yeah, there's a lot of parallels between Nightcrawler and Drive that I love to discuss. But all in all, this is a fantastic directorial debut by Dan Gilroy and a must-watch. It's an excellent thriller. It's got amazing performances, beautiful cinematography, and a really good script. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. And I'm going to leave it at that because I want you guys to go see it. Go see it. Now, go see it. Well, actually, stay for the Q&As, but after the Q&As, go see it, because Nightcrawler is one of my favorites of the 2010s, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so moving on to some Q&As. Yay, Q&As, we have questions. I, of course, will talk more about Nightcrawler in the YouTube video that I'm going to upload, but for now, let's get into some of these Q&As, because you guys left some very interesting questions. Okay, first question is, what is a movie that you secretly love, but everyone else hates? Okay, well, the thing is that a lot of the people I know like the films that I watch, but there are some exceptions. One of those being the Blair Witch Project. There are a lot of people I know that have said that the Blair Witch Project is boring, or it's just unimaginative and just not good. And I wholeheartedly disagree. I love the Blair Witch Project. It is one of the best horror films ever made. It is one of the first, I believe the first or one of the first found footage horror films ever made. It's the subgenre that films like Paranormal Activity and Rec is pretty good, have done in good-ish ways. The first Paranormal Activity, the first two are really good, but after that it just became a franchise and it was just awful. And a lot of those people, I'm sorry guys, but I think the overexposure to films like Paranormal Activity, I don't know, the third one, the fourth one, it makes it seem like found footage films are just stupid. And if you go with that mindset into Blair Witch Project, you're not going to get a good experience out of it. And the Blair Witch Project, it's one of the biggest successes ever, first of all. The budget was around $60,000 and the box office made, just guess a number. It made $248 million at the box office. That is an incredible success. And the Blair Witch Project contains some of the most harrowing and terrifying sequences I've ever seen in a movie. There's just so much about that film that can be talked about. And I might do a future episode on it because it's that good. But the Blair Witch Project is one of those films that I love and everybody else kind of dislikes. The other one is Under the Skin. I've already talked about Under the Skin on this podcast. I will be uploading that episode to YouTube, so you guys can just listen to it, just to have it there. But Under the Skin is just, it's brilliant, and a lot of people fail to see the message the film is trying to convey. A lot of people see it as just some art house movie that doesn't really know what it's doing, and from my point of view, it's just not true. It's just not true. So those would be the movies that I love and that everybody else mostly dislikes. I don't know if I'd use the word hate, but dislike. All right, next question. Has there ever been a time in your life where you felt like you were in a movie? Goodness, no, there have been many times. Well, one time where I felt like I've been in a movie is in this short film that I did, right? I was in a movie called Customer Service. It's not really a movie, it's a short film. Okay, that was a terrible joke. I'm so sorry. But then again, guys, thank you so much for the support on Customer Service. One of the most fondest memories I have, it's from last summer. Summer down here in the Southern Hemisphere is from around November, ends of November to March. So around mid-January, I was taking the bus back and forth to work, right? And I got off at a certain time, and the bus came about 5 minutes before I would get off my shift. So, at times, I would have to chase the bus down. And it made me feel like I was in a movie because, well, I basically had my headphones in and I was all set to go. And I'd see the bus race by, and I'd quickly hit play on a bop or something really, like a really good song. And I'd just run after the bus, and it'd just make me feel so cool. And it'd just make me feel like I was in a movie. So that was super fun. It was basically like just bursting out the door of the restaurant where I worked and bolting down the sidewalk to try and get to that bus with everybody turning their heads and, what's this kid doing? Why is he running? It was super fun. Any other times where I felt I've been in the movie, basically just running after something. Like if I'm about to miss something and I run after something and I have earphones in or earbuds in and I just put a good song in, it just gives me so much adrenaline, and it just kind of just makes me tireless. So that's basically it. All right, last question, and this is a very interesting one. What films do you think could translate well to animation or vice versa? Okay, so basically a live-action film that can be good in animation and an animated film that can be good in live-action. Okay, so for the primary answer, I really can't think of anything. I can think of two films that have similar visual parallels. Some visual parallels. Those two films are Inception and Paprika. Paprika is an anime film, I believe from 2006, and Inception, of course, everybody knows Inception, the 2010 masterpiece that Christopher Nolan directed. They both have some visual similarities. There's a hallway scene in Paprika that has some sort of similarities to the hallway scene in Inception, etc., and so on. So those two films, I mean, it's a pretty cool visual parallel. It's always cool to see that. But in terms of films going to animation, I really can't see one of those. I mean, the first thing off my head is comic book movies, but they're already a thing. Because if we can get movies that are like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is such a good movie and so well animated, I would definitely watch superhero films a lot more if that were the case. But I will say, from animation to live action, there are a couple that come to mind. The first one being Coraline. And I heard everybody gasp, Coraline, it's such a good movie. It has just amazing animation. What would you do? I feel like if there was a good horror director behind that project, I think it could be really good. Like, I'd like to see, I don't know, maybe Ari Aster take it on, or who would be an excellent choice, Jennifer Kent. Jennifer Kent is one of my favorite filmmakers working today. She made the film The Babadook back in 2014. And then more recently, she made The Nightingale, which was released last year, which is strangely overlooked by a lot of people, and it's a really, really good film. I just love that film so much. I feel like her direction with Coraline, with that whole family aspect of the film and the creepy dreamlike surrealness of it could be something that she could definitely tackle. I could definitely see Jennifer Kent directing a live action adaptation of Coraline. That would be pretty cool. And for the latter, I will say something I really want to get adapted into a live-action movie, a good live-action movie, or a good live-action series. I'm talking about Death Note. Now, yes, there has been a Death Note movie. I thought it was okay. We'll leave it at that. But if you could make a Death Note TV show, a live-action TV adaptation of Death Note, oh my goodness, it would be just amazing. The anime, of course, it should remain untouched. It's an absolute gem. It's just such a good show. But I feel like with some really good actors and some good direction and good writing, it could really become a great live action show. I sort of see Death Note rolling out kind of like how Breaking Bad rolled out. Of course, Breaking Bad wasn't an adaptation of everything, but Breaking Bad just did so well. And I can see Death Note falling under that same category because it's really good. It's a really good show. There's compelling characters, there's great dramatic moments, there's great character tension, particularly the one between Light and L, the detective trying to discover who Light really is, and Light's actually Kira, the guy who has the Death Note. It's a whole show that I highly recommend to you guys, because you may be thinking, oh, it's an anime show, it's just gonna be kind of boring, and Death Note, it sounds, yeah. It's not. It's really, really good. And of course, there's some goofy moments sprinkled throughout the series, but it doesn't impact the show in any way whatsoever. And while we're on the subject of anime adaptations, I will say this. I am kind of excited for the Cowboy Bebop live action adaptation. Apparently, it's been delayed for a little bit, and it won't come until, I don't know, maybe later this year or next year. But I'm excited for it, because Cowboy Bebop is probably my one-time favorite anime ever. So, I'm excited to see what they do, and I really hope it works out okay. But anime adaptations aside, I would love to see those shows and movies done in a live action format. Thank you guys for the great questions. I have a couple that I saved for next episode. I am going to talk more about Nightcrawler in my YouTube video, which I will upload on Friday or Saturday. I'll let you guys know, and I'll also let you guys know the next film, as always. And I hope you all know it's an absolute joy to talk about films and film-related topics with you guys. And isn't that the whole point of the show? So without further ado, this has been James and the Frames, and I will see you after the credits.